I used to cry so much. I used to feel so much shame. And I still do feel a lot of shame because I had to hide the things that I used to go through. I was so ashamed. I couldn't tell no family. I couldn't tell friends. To this day, if people really knew what I put up with, the things that I put up with, because on the outside you look like, people look at me like, oh, you're so strong, you're smart, you know what I mean, you're educated. I mean, I'm not bad looking either. Behind closed doors, it's just like, what in the hell was wrong with me? I don't know what was wrong with me. I don't know why I put up with what I put up with. I swear I don't. And the sad part about it is, it took me 13 years. I stayed in this narcissistic abusive relationship for 13 years. And the sad part about it is, this wasn't my first abusive relationship. This was like my third relationship that was pretty abusive. Now, I'm not saying that in my younger years, like, I was the perfect person, but in all three of them, I was physically abused. These are my main relationships that were pretty long term. But in all three, I was abused physically. It wasn't always ongoing, but I was physically abused. I was verbally abused and emotionally abused. More so in this last one. More so in this relationship, this marriage that lasted 13 years. I always said to myself, this was the worst relationship I have ever been in. I've never experienced something so terrible in my life. And some people look at you and they say, well, just leave. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave. I don't know why. I could not leave. I felt like I needed this person. I felt like there were times in the beginning where I felt like I would die without this person. And I'm almost ashamed to say that, because it's like you project this image of, of strength and having it all together, and being vulnerable is just like, some people take it as a weakness. I know that it's not a weakness, but I mean, maybe one day I'll get the courage to say some of the things that happen, but the bad part about it is it didn't only affect me. It affected my child. It affected my son. So that's why, when I see people that's in similar type of relationships, I'm coming out. Like I'm out of it, but I'm in the process of divorce. I'm in the process of that. But when I see people that's in it, and luckily I didn't have kids with this person, but when I see people that have kids with people like this, I feel for them, because I know what they're going through on top of just what they are going through in it. But I'm like, man, your kids are like, they're suffering. Your kids are going to be damaged to some degree because of just the fact of them watching you be abused. The manipulation, the name calling. They'll try to turn your kids against you. Then your kids, as they get older, because they see you putting up with this, they don't respect you the same anymore. Some kids are more understanding than some kids too. I'm not trying to paint a broad picture for every situation, but sometimes that happens where your kids watch you be abused. They watch you put up with just allowing yourself to be put down and to, like, they don't respect you when they get older. Sometimes they just don't. You know what I mean? It affects them. That abuse that's being done to you, you don't think that it's not affecting them? I mean, it was so bad that my dogs, I have 2 beautiful Yorkies, and the dogs were even affected by it. Whenever me and this person would sit down and talk, 9 times out of 10, it was going to turn into some type of argument or bickering back and forth. It got to a point where my dogs, whenever me and this person would sit down and talk, the dogs would go. One of them, she can't deal with a lot of tension. She can't deal with it. She would literally go sit in the corner and shake and put her head down. The other one would try to come and sit in the middle of us, almost as if she's trying to look me in my eyes to try to keep me calm or to try to see if I'm okay. I mean, and they did this for years. I mean, anytime we would talk, the dogs would literally, you could see the tension overcome them. You could see their reaction. So to me, I'm like, if I'm walking on eggshells, or if I feel like I'm walking on eggshells whenever this person comes around, my dogs feel like they walking on eggshells. They don't even know what that means, but they are. It's affecting them too. I mean, I'm embarrassed that my son watched this. I love my son. My son loves me. But it kind of messed him up a little bit too. It kind of affected him too, because you watching a person that's supposed to love your mom, and you're watching this person like literally verbally destroying her with words. You as a son watching your mother go through this, and you feel helpless. You don't think that's not going to affect him? You don't think that's not going to affect your children? After they get a certain age, they can see, they understand, they're a lot smarter than what you think. And the thing is, either they're going to grow up and replicate or duplicate what they saw. Either they're going to become like that narcissistic person, or they're going to become like you, that person that allows themselves to be abused. Some kids, by the grace of God, end up seeing that and they doing better for themselves. They decide, that's not what I want for myself. That's not how I'm going to become. So yeah, you have some kids that do, it affects them, but they make better decisions. But I mean, if you don't walk away, if not for yourself, Lord, do it for your kids. Do it for your kids. Do it for your pets. But you have to learn from this. You can't keep going into these type of relationships, because like I said, this was my 3rd relationship that was just so toxic. In the 13 years that I was in it, I prayed. I'm a person that believes in prayer. I'm a person that has faith in God, that he can, he can help people. He can change people, because he changed me. I'm in a process of him still changing me, because I'm still healing. I'm still healing from a lot of abuse. Now that I'm out of it, I'm starting to realize how much damage was done. How much damage was done to me, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. So I'm in a process of healing, and I have backslidden, if that's the term that people want to say. And God is working on me. He's working on me, and he's bringing me to a place of healing and loving me and showing me what love is. But the thing was, I prayed. I thought that if I prayed enough, I thought that if I fasted enough, I thought that if I loved this person enough, if I was understanding, if I was, just amenable, not to the point where, like you control everywhere I walk, talk, but I just thought that if I loved this person enough, that my love would be enough for the both of us. My love would be enough to, change this person. And I went on like that for years. And it was a lot of in and out and back and forth over the years. And, I just got to a point where I used to say to this person, why am I not good enough? I couldn't understand why I wasn't good enough, because I felt like I was doing everything in my power to try to prove to this person that I loved them, but it didn't matter what I did. It was never enough. I mean, when they met me, they complained about the way I dressed. It was, too provocative. I changed that. I started dressing very, very, very modestly. It didn't matter. They found something wrong with that. When I met them, I was like an alcoholic when I met them. I used to drink. I used to smoke. You know what I mean? But I had gotten saved, and I started going to church, and I was in church like all the time. I just was so grateful because God had healed me from something that I'll do a video about later on, that nobody could help me with. And I was just so on fire for God. And I was in church like all the time because I was so grateful for what God had done for me. And like, they would complain that I was at church too much. The point I'm making is, it didn't matter what I did. If I dressed provocative, it was a problem. If I dressed like a nun, it was a problem. If I wasn't in church and out in the streets, it was a problem. If I went to church, you going too much. It was confusing, because it was like I was up and down. It was like I was on a roller coaster. And then I guess I just got to a point where it burned me out. Physically, I was sick all the time and didn't know why. I was sick all the time and didn't know why. I did not know why. Stuff I had never experienced in my life. Over the 13 years, I couldn't put two and two together. I could not understand, or I did not think that being in a relationship could make you sick. I didn't know that. And I'm ashamed to say I didn't know that. I did not know that. I did not know that most of the illnesses that I was dealing with was because of stress. It was because of that relationship. And I realized it took for me to almost die for me to realize what was really happening. And I had gotten angry at God for a while, because I prayed. And I prayed and I prayed, and me and him had separated like 2 or 3 times. And each time I prayed, Lord, do you want me to continue to pray for my marriage? Because I was standing for my marriage. Do you want me to pray for this marriage? Do you want me to pray for this man? Do you want me to fight for my marriage? And the first time, we separated, it wasn't that long. The second time we separated for almost 3 years, and I prayed and I fasted. And I'm not saying that I was perfect in the time that we were separated, because by this time I was so hurt and so angry. I kind of went back out into the world. I did. And then I think halfway through, maybe a year and a half in, that's when I really was like, no, I really want to fight for my marriage. Because I would ask God for sign after sign after sign. And he continually showed me that he wanted me to pray for my marriage, that he wanted me to stay in this marriage. And I did. So when when he wanted to come back, I was like, praise God. God is going to heal our marriage. God is going to, fix things. He's going to, I was so grateful because I thought, okay, this is it. This is it, And in the beginning, when he came back, I mean, he was great. I mean, he was great. He was great. He was so good and just thoughtful and caring and loving and sweet. And so I was the happiest girl in the world. But, over time, I started getting sick again. While we were separated, I noticed my health was a little better. It was like improving. But when we got back together, my health it declined. And that was also when COVID had came out too. So, and I worked in a hospital. So, it was just stressful anyway. And my health this time around, my health totally declined. I just knew I was dying this time. Long story short, I'm going to give a testimony of actually what happened because I nearly almost lost my life. I ended up in the hospital several times, but the last hospital bout, I was in there for almost a month. But I'll do a video about that later. But the point was, after I got out the hospital, because I noticed how I was being treated when I was sick, and I noticed how I was being treated right after I had just gotten surgery, and I it's almost like I don't know what, was I stupid? It was almost like, okay, girl, you dealt with the up and down of this relationship, and you've dealt with the abuse. You could deal with it, but it was almost like I expected him to be better because I was sick. It was like a wake-up call for me. I'm literally in the bed, maybe a few days out of surgery, can hardly walk. I'm wearing diapers and can't move hardly. And this person is calling me names because stupid stuff, calling me names, telling me that I'm on my last leg, pretty much that I'm on my way out. It was almost like it was no mercy for me. And I couldn't understand it. I could not understand how can this person be treating me like this, the same as they've always treated me, when I'm literally I just got out of surgery. I just came home from surgery. How could they still, and they're sitting in my face telling me that, oh, you're not sick. And I'm just like, how could this person be treating me like this? So I think for me, that for me was like a wake-up call. That was a wake-up call because I'm just like, oh, if you can go through this and this person is still treating you like the same as they've always done, it's no mercy still, girl, you got to get out. You got to get out. And I knew in my mind that I needed to get out, but my heart still wanted to try to work it out. Still, like a dummy. Still. I lost my place. My son moved away. I could barely walk enough to work. So I was going to work part-time because I couldn't. I work in a job where I have to move. I have to push, pull. I work in a hospital. And if you can't do your job, my manager told us there's no light duty. So I had decided I needed to switch to part-time. And knowing that I was switching to part-time, I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford to, live in the same place, take care of my mom was living with me. I had to find somewhere that was just, much cheaper, much, much, much smaller and much cheaper. I almost lost, I was almost evicted out of my last place because I had used up so much leave because I had been off and on sick for months. You know what I mean? I burned up a lot of my leave, and my coworkers, they gave me a lot of their leave. But yeah, I had to end up moving by myself because I had my, before it was him, my son, my mom, and myself. And I was working to make sure everybody had everything they needed. I was that person. I was working to make sure everybody was comfortable. Not saying that he didn't work. He worked. But, I mean, he wasn't. The amount of money that he was giving me for bills was like minuscule to what you know what I mean? And this is somebody that I'm married to. It's not like a boyfriend. Like we had been married for years. You know what I mean? But God had it so that I moved by myself. I lost a lot. I lost parts of organs that I can't get back. I lost a lot and I wanted to die. And not only that, this person pretty much like abandoned me while I was recovering, and abandoned me without even batting an eye. Not even batting an eye. No mercy. No mercy. I needed help with money and no mercy. So I went into like a very dark, depressive state. And yeah, that was a wake-up call for me. So I was angry at God because I was like, why would you have me pray for this marriage? Why would you have me pray and stay in this marriage if you knew that this was going to happen again? If you knew that things were actually going to go worse? Why would you have me pray and stay in this marriage? Because I asked you and you showed me over and over again to stay, to not leave at the time that we had separated before. And you know what God led me to understand? He led me to understand that if when y'all separated, if I'd have let that be the end of that relationship, you'd have walked away thinking that there was something wrong with you. Because I did. I thought, I'm not even gonna lie, at the time I thought, okay, I need to change and fix myself. And I'm not saying that I don't. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. And I'm not saying that God doesn't want to fix me and things in me. Because I'm not perfect. I'm not saying I was the perfect wife. But what he was letting me know is you'd have walked away from this situation thinking that there was something wrong with you. You were not aware of the type of person that it was that you was with. You couldn't see this person for who they really was. You couldn't see it yet. You still couldn't see it. And if I'd have let you walk away from this relationship when you wanted to, you'd have just ended up in the same situation, a different face all over again. So that's why I had you stay. Because I knew in order for you to wake up and to become what I want you to become, to do what I need you to do, so that you don't go through this again, you're going to have to see this person for who they really are. You're going to have to see that this person that you praying for, these type of people that you praying for, they're not going to change. He was not going to change. But you'd have walked away thinking that you didn't pray enough. You didn't fast enough. You didn't do this enough. You didn't do that enough. But it wasn't you. I needed you to wake up so that you can see what this person was in your life. This person was sent to destroy your plans and your purpose. This is what God is letting me know. I have plans for you. You have talents that I wanted to use with you years ago, but because you went into this marriage and you knew this marriage wasn't for you, but you forced it anyway because you thought that you could fix this person. You thought you could fix them. You not God. Some people, I'm sorry, some people it's not that God is not capable of it, but some people have a reprobate mind. Some people have a reprobate mind and they don't want to be fixed. They don't want to be fixed. And God is not going to force anybody to change. He ain't going to force them. And some people are so beyond gone, they not going to change. And I didn't realize that. I did not realize that. I didn't realize it. I wasted years. I wasted my youth And I'm still so like upset at myself, because I'm like, how could I not see this? Why didn't I see this before? I am grateful for the people, the self-aware narcissists that they have on videos. I am so grateful for them, because when I started watching their videos, I literally, these people would give situations, and it would be like exactly word for word situations that I was going through. And it's like all these years, I knew, okay, something not right, but I just didn't know what it was. And I just always thought it was me, because this person was so good at making me think that I was always the problem. I was always the problem. It didn't matter what I did. I couldn't chew right. My teeth was a problem. The way I breathe was a problem. When they get mad, me fat, I was a fat, you know what I mean? It's like, one minute you love me, the next minute you hate me. One minute you would build me up, and the next minute, I mean, when you tear me down, you would tear me down so good. This was the high, the up and the down, and over the years, oh man. It literally destroyed me. It did. It did. But by the grace of God, He put me back together. But the point that I'm making is, sometimes you keep going through the same thing over and over again because you ain't learned your lesson. You ain't learned your lesson. You ain't awake to who the type of people is that you attracting and you attracted to. And until you wake up, until you learn these types of people and figure out that these type of people have certain characteristics and they not going to change, and you gotta take what's wrong with you, take it to God so that He can fix what's in you, so that you can start to be aware and pay attention to these things. Because that's what I wasn't doing. I wasn't doing it. I was so broken that it was almost like I was desperate for this person to love me. It was almost like I worshiped them. Because that's another video I'll do. Narcissism is idolatry. It's idolatry. I worshiped this person. I was constantly thinking about them. What if I do this, if I don't do that? Are they going to leave me? Where are they when they would stay out and not call, or gaslight you? You constantly thinking about this person because that's what they want. They give and then pull away. Give and then pull away. They love bomb the crap out of you and then ignore you. And it's like a drug. You're addicted to them and you start worshiping them. And that's what they want. So now you don't have no relationship with God no more. You don't do nothing with God because you making this person your God. You making this marriage and this relationship your God. And anytime God see you doing that, that relationship is not going to stand. It's not going to stand. It's going to fail because He ain't letting you put nobody above Him. Especially if you are chosen for a purpose. And I know that I'm chosen for a purpose. I know it. I didn't always know it, but I know it now. Especially if you are a person that's chosen. Especially if you are a person that He wants to use. Not saying that God don't want to use everybody. But sometimes God has an assignment for certain people to go out and to help other people. And He wants us all, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to say like, oh, some people are better than anybody. But sometimes when the enemy knows that God has chosen you to do something, honey, He gonna send something for you. He gonna send them for you. Because the enemy is like, oh, no. We can't let this person know who they are. We can't let them realize who they are. We got to send somebody. We got to destroy that. We got to thwart those plans. And yes, the enemy was thwarting those plans for 13 years. Do you know, all these years, I have never in my life been able to write music. Probably maybe 2 months after I had this last time I separated from this person, I woke up one day and just started writing music. It's talents that's coming out of me that I never knew was there, that was being suppressed. It was being suppressed because I was being oppressed. That oppression was suppressing my true gifts and my true talents, that when God got me alone, now he can actually bring those things out of me, things that I didn't know I was even capable of doing. And I started realizing, you know what, this person will continue to see. I ain't gonna lie, I will do a video later. I started to realize I'm more powerful without you. I used to say this to them, I'm more powerful without you. And them hit that. Oh, them hit when you start to realize who you are without them, when they start to see that you are more powerful without them, but you start to realize it, ooh, honey, that tear them up good. It tear them up bad. But this was too long. I didn't plan on talking this long. Nobody probably, I don't even know if anybody gonna look at it. But I will do another video about what I went through. I was scared to even talk about this. I was so terrified. But you can't keep going into these type of relationships. You got to learn from your mistakes. You got to take time and be by yourself. Be by yourself and learn from your mistakes. Learn from what is wrong with you. Why you are settling for less. Why are you okay with less? Because until you learn that, you're going to keep knocking your head. You're just going to keep bumping your head, knocking your head in the same broke down, beat up relationships. And you're going to sit up here, because you're going to sit up here. You're going to be 10, 15 years older, and you're going to look back and be like, I done wasted all this time for what? On who? On nothing. On nothing. But it wasn't a waste of time, because I learned a lot from it. And I ain't going through this again. Thank you for watching.